Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. We the stars, young stars. We the stars. Young stars. We the stars. Young stars. Still have attention. But now we going on a mission. The only one with decisions. Whoa. Sometimes you gotta be a little outrageous. Sometimes you gotta be outlandish. Sometimes you gotta be outrageous. Sometimes you gotta be outlandish. She's my Lindy, my only Lindy. When I love that little girl, marry her.
Hey guys, welcome to this fun question and answers with Frame Voyager. It's been asked for a while, and given that this is the day that I predicted Blackmagic would come out with a new camera, I figured I'd rather do one. Which I'm claiming. You know what? I gotta say, I'm gonna claim a little bit of victory here. The fact that they just announced like a few hours ago that for a live stream about DaVinci Cloud or whatever it's gonna be, it should be interesting. I don't know what that is. I don't know if they got the memo, but they were actually supposed to release a camera before NAB, but whatever. I'll take the win as I'm guessing it. And actually, I just found out you can actually run multiple live streams on YouTube at once, because the other live stream until Blackmagic releases a camera is going to be interesting now. But welcome. Here just to answer any questions you guys have. Talk Blackmagic, talk NAB, which is coming up here really soon that I'm going to. It's going to be so cool. I know I'm going to get to see some of you at NAB, and I'm really excited about that. So, hello, Jaspreet. Good to see you here. So yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of sad to see that they haven't released a camera yet. Maybe a box cinema camera would be kind of cool, but what are you gonna do? Kind of sad, but let a couple more people get in here. Hi. Oh, lots of people are joining in. Hey guys. Mindo works. Hey, from Scotland. You know, I've wanted to go to Scotland for a while. Be a great time. I'm definitely planning on going there sometime. Good to see you guys. Glad you guys are here. So what do you guys think about this DaVinci Resolve update? I think it's super interesting. We're going to be doing a watch party on Monday. And here, Tim Buttner in the comments. Hello from Florida. Tim Buttner will be joining us. And we're going to have some other guests too, some other DaVinci Resolve users that I'm friends with on YouTube that will be joining for the live stream and to see what this is all about. And don't care. Need new cameras. I know. Maybe they're going to come at NAB in a couple of weeks. Maybe that's when they're going to release the camera. Maybe they switched it up. SRP Productions, you sold your Blackmagic K Pro anticipating a new camera. You'll be patient. I would assume there's probably going to be a camera at some point this year. I know some people say there's not. I was kind of hoping for one for before NAB, just due to like historical data. I think this will be the first spring they haven't really released a camera in a while. And we actually have Tim Buttner here in the chat who helped me come up with predicting this. ProRes RAW and be edited in Resolve. Yeah, it's interesting that DaVinci Resolve you can edit and RAW, Nikon RAW in DaVinci, but ProRes RAW is not. From what I've heard, ProRes RAW is kind of a pain to deal with, but yeah. Resolve could mean stock graphic templates shared to the cloud. I have heard about that. That will be so interesting. That would be so interesting to see that kind of happen. Which, Tim, let me know if you want to hop on here and talk a little bit about all the stuff going on. Man, we're getting all the stuff going here. Johnny Scoon, how much do you think the box camera will cost? I don't know. I would assume probably around. It depends on what's in it, right? I mean, I would think it'd be a little bit if they come out with one. I'd imagine it'd be around the Ursa price or below the Ursa price, maybe by a couple thousand. But it just depends on what they have in it. Almanax asks, will your live stream keep going till the box camera is released? As of right now, it will. If not, I will do something fun to I'll do something fun to end it, but it's gonna go for right now. My computer is running over there right now that's running it, so it's been going for 2 weeks now. I was kind of hoping to be wrapped up by NAB, but we'll see. Yeah, Jaspreet, with the countdown, there is a chance that we might see a camera. You never know. Grant Petty loves his little show, and it's always really super fun to do it. We could still see a camera. I'm still holding out hope. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna do a live watch party. So if you guys want to join and just have a fun time and hear about all the new stuff with DaVinci, the cloud, whatever that could mean, maybe that's a big thing. To be honest, we are BMP CC users for a long time now, but I'm leaning towards. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, look, I'm a big Blackmagic user, but I'm totally for use the cameras that you need to within what your job is and what you're most comfortable with. I like Blackmagic. I get really excited about Blackmagic, but I mean, honestly, cameras nowadays are just getting they're just the competition's so close. Like you could go use anything and get super professional work out of it, in my opinion. A box camera would replace the Pocket or Ursa Mini. I don't know if it would. Maybe I kind of almost saw it as like an other line. Like, you have your Ursa line, you have your Pocket camera line, and you have your box line. Because I think there's still, I know some people don't love the ergonomics of the Pocket cinema cameras, but I still think it's not too bad. NDI functionality, yes. That would be. Yeah, I think Ethernet. There's a lot of interesting things that they could get functionality stuff coming up, and that's the one thing I think Blackmagic has over some of these other camera companies is just that the live stream capabilities and some of the hardware they have that like no one else really is in. But let's keep going on with questions. You wanted to upgrade, Sam Xtel. Thanks for watching. You wanted to upgrade from the Pocket 4K to 6K Pro, but hope it's not a bad time. No, it's not. I would say it's a bad time. The 6K Pro. I mean, the Pocket 4K is still great. You could still use the Pocket 4K, like it's great, but the 6K Pro is also great too. I personally like the Ursa G2 a little bit better, but yeah. Mindo works. Colors look great. Thank you. I'm just using the LUT from don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. I'm currently using the Ursa G2 for live streaming. So I'm just using the LUT that goes right through it. So I'm actually going to have a guest on here. Tim Buttner is going to come on here and talk with us about some camera stuff as well. He's been on my podcast. He's been a nice source behind some of my video content, and I'm sure he'll love answering some questions here. So let me just give him let me invite him real quick. How are you guys doing today? Are you guys excited for NAB? Are you excited for some of the new camera? It feels like every day, like all this new stuff's coming out, like new lenses, new everything. It's freaking insane. Just it's really exciting kind of to see where all this stuff's going in the industry. Even if you're not going to buy it all, it's still super cool. Give me a second. All right, inviting him on. Okay. Movie facts. You don't know what it is with the 8K and 12K. 6K is enough. Yeah. Yeah, I would say, I mean, honestly, the only thing if you're wanting to get that high resolution, it needs to be for the fact that you're punching in, or you just need that extra resolution for like VFX work, or I always say just have a purpose behind what you're doing, because there's no there's no reason to like make bigger file sizes if you don't need like that, 6K, 8K, 12K. That's kind of my opinion behind it. Like when I use the 6K Pro, I typically use that for like client shoots, where if it's like an interview, it's the main camera because you can punch into it so well, and still, if you're rendering at 1920 by 1080 or at 4K, it's great. Or just the quality light. It is. That is. I've had that Aperture 120D for about 5 years, and I love it. All right. Full frame. Do you think we're getting full frame? I think there might be some of that. I know Tim Buttner might know a little bit more about that, but I think we could be seeing full frame. Prentice Ryan Sneed. Unpopular opinion. I think there's enough cameras. I'm assuming that's a joke based on all my jokes about it. Someone did comment and asked, why do we need more cameras? And my kind of response to that is, well, yeah, maybe we just don't need it. We should have just stopped when they had the crank cameras. There was no more innovation ever needed after that. So Tim Buttner, yeah. Yeah, if you could change one thing about the Pocket is the battery mounting system. Maybe go with the Canon C7. Yeah, I think so. I think so. The Pocket cameras are terrible for that for sure. AAP Studios, great to see you. You had to drop in for a minute. Live stream at 12. Oh, I know. Live streams are becoming more common. Yeah, I'm trying to do more live streams and stuff here on the channel because it's a fun way to kind of engage with everyone in the community. Thanks for dropping in. Good luck with your live stream. I'll have to come back on here at some point soon. Yep, 6K is enough. All right, man. You guys are really coming in with the comments here. I see and we got Tim Buttner here. Let me introduce friend of the channel, Tim Buttner. Welcome.
Sorry for the poor quality. I'm doing my webcam.
Oh, no, you're good. Welcome to the question answer live stream. If any of you are wondering where I got the idea for doing that live stream and predicting it, I got all my information from Tim Buttner, so I blame him for not being right about the camera release. So,
I mean, I was off by 2 days in my prediction and saying April 16th, which was the anniversary date of, at that point, Resolve 9 and the original cinema camera. So it's the 18th. Well,
yep. Yeah, close enough. It's still pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Let me see some of these questions. We're got a lot of questions coming in. All right, here's a question from Media Zone. Do you see the box camera going modular? Pick your sensor, pick your monitor, pick your audio, etc. That would be kind of interesting. Like a different tier. I don't know. I wouldn't see that coming, but that would be kind of cool.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to the box camera design, you have to look at what other people have done, and it's just, you can't really think outside of the box with the box.
Which, for box people who love their box cameras, I've got my box cinema camera mug that we have. It's on the Frame Voyager website if you'd like to join the box camera club.
I'll grab the original box.
Oh, you got the original box.
I present to you the original box cam.
So you guys, they've already come out with it. Just go back and buy the old one. Man, those things are hilarious. Yes, Brandon Talbert, let's go. Unfortunately, we're not getting that camera release. Do you think, Tim, we could see a camera release at NAB, or better yet, maybe even on the live stream? I know a lot of people have been commenting like, "Oh, don't put it past Blackmagic to be hiding the camera in there," and like right before you think it's going to end. Grant Petty,
they could be hiding it because, again, they do the major announcements and it. Well, we have one more thing, blah blah blah. Just like Apple does, they've done it in the past. Because I want to say when they announced this Pocket 6K. That they kind of did that.
It was like a camera update and like ATEM Mini Pro or something, right? And it was like it was like 30 or 45 minutes of like the new ATEM 4K or whatever. And then he's like, oh, by the way, here's another camera.
Something along those lines. I have to almost go back and look. It's tough to keep track sometimes.
Yeah, with their live streams, but their live streams are always so funny. And Grant Petty's always, I love how they do them because they're so unassuming and they just kind of like nonchalant, just showing it off. You can tell he loves doing it, but it's just really funny compared to some other live streams that you usually get. And it's really kind of fun to watch.
What's interesting is before they started doing the live, I think the first set of live streams they started doing was somewhere around like 2017, because I don't remember them really doing them in 2016, but I remember in 2015 at one point, because I was asking him, years before they introduced the Atom Mini, hey, like, I shoot this thing on a ski mountain for a free ski pass, to the mountain. Every once a week I go and it's this ski bum race. I kind of want to get it so that I can just live stream it to the web so that everyone can just basically watch it. And like, I was picking his brain, like asking about the live switching stuff. And like, well, the problem is I would need to transmit wireless video from like the camera up on the mountain, blah, blah, blah. But like, you can kind of see behind his eyes the wheels turning.
Yep.
Like, is there a product there? So
it sure
feel like
feels
he's very
like
calculated in his thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if you guys have not read that article, was it by Vox or
it was?
I can't remember. Maybe it was Fortune. There's an article Grant Petty just did, kind of talks about his background, where he came from, the mission behind the company, and why he kind of does the very, very great article. If any of you guys like Blackmagic stuff, it's definitely something to look at because I feel like it's a very different approach than pretty much anyone else in the industry kind of has to it. Mindo works here coming in saying modular will never apply here. Blackmagic is a prosumer market, and that means individuals will be operating them, not technicians. Potential warranty nightmare.
That was, by the way, Forbes.
Okay. Yeah, go look at that Forbes article. Mindo works. I kind of agree here. Blackmagic doesn't really seem to have much interest in like doing all that kind of extra stuff. Like they don't make their own cages. They don't kind of do, which is kind of interesting to me. So I kind of agree with that.
The closest they've come to making their own cages is just doing the shoulder mount kit for the Ursa Mini, which that design now 7 years.
Yeah, so it's pretty older. Jasprit, a friend of the channel, says there is a market for pocket style body, but Blackmagic needs to make it slightly more compact and figure out the battery performance. I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I don't know if the pocket body like really annoys me as much as it does for some people. Like I completely understand for certain applications and for certain people in the way of using it. I can understand why it's kind of like annoying to use. From run and gun style though, I kind of like it. So I agree. I think the pocket bodies are still fine. Johnny Scoon coming here. His 6K Pro, the crop factor and B-raw outside of 6K really annoys you. Yeah. Well, I mean, Tim, would you get a Blackmagic camera and want to use ProRes in it? I guess it is kind of annoying with the 6K if you just want to like kind of quickly do ProRes files and not have to worry about color grading and all that kind of stuff.
I have clients that sometimes just want ProRes, and then I have clients that want ProRes with, video look baked in. They just want to look baked in. They don't want to bother color grading. They don't want to bother with whatever, because I guess maybe they don't have good editors or they don't have the budget to pay for, coloring in the end.
Yep.
So I have those clients. There's also the aspect of sometimes like I will go do an interview with a CEO of a company where it's basically like we're live streaming to a certain people. We do shoot ProRes. It's log. And we provide it to them, but it's basically like, hey, this is my introductory thing. He's speaking to a teleprompter. We've got the text on the screen.
Yep.
They want ProRes.
Yeah. Makes sense. So yeah, it would be interesting to see if maybe they can maybe that's an update to the camera. I wonder what some of the sensor tech is behind some of those reasons, but be interesting. Sean Lewis says, "Goal Grant Petty is a software developer as well." Yeah, I mean, in the article he talks about writing his own code, which I don't know if I knew that about him. It's fascinating that like his big thing is coding. Like that's kind of interesting, right? I mean, you kind of can't even get that within their cameras and why some of the way they're set up. Yeah,
because you look at he started doing telecine work too and this came from John Brawley on the forums, where John Brawley is very active as well. He's on Facebook a good amount too, but on the forums he brought up the fact that Centel, who Blackmagic Design acquired in 2012, so they actually had their Ursa Centel scanner, and that's of course now a name for the line of cameras. You look at the original naming, it was Blackmagic Cinema Camera, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, and Blackmagic Production Camera. And then you eventually got the Ursa line, you got continued Pockets, so the Pocket line has just been using the same name for a long time. When it comes to everything though, him being a coder, they acquired DaVinci Resolve in 2009. It took 2017 was when the big code rewrite from the ground up of Resolve happened. So that took about 8 years for them to rewrite code.
God, yeah, that's great. I mean, and now it's like it's such a robust software, and it keeps getting higher and higher up. It's crazy. Philip Michael Frey, I think he's on actually our Discord too. I've seen you kind of around the channel. Thanks for tuning in. You just bought a used 6K. Love the image, love the body. You got 2 Blackmagic Pocket 4Ks. And if nothing interesting comes out, I'll buy 2 more because of my extensive MFT lens collection. I love the image. Hey, I mean, I love my Pocket 4Ks. I use them for like all the time on a bunch of different things. They're such easy run and gun rigs. They're great for live streaming, even though I'm using the Ursa G2 for this live stream. But they're just such versatile cameras that you could do so much with. Like, they're just great cameras to have. So that's awesome. Alan,
I will say the Pockets are too good for their price.
Oh, they are.
Really are. I mean,
I think the Pocket 4K is probably. Would you agree that the Pocket 4K is probably like their quintessential camera? Like they just nailed it.
Well, first off, $1,300 you get DaVinci Resolve with it. So
that's true.
Yeah. So essentially, at the time they released it, Resolve was $300 to buy the studio license. And you think about that. So that means I'm paying $1,000 for a camera, $300 for a studio. So I'm basically buying this Pocket 4K for $1,000. And as some people are saying, they're getting them used, really good pricing. I know more friends who actually have the Pocket 4Ks. And also when the 6K came out, I bought it because I just wanted to have an EF mount because I have EF lenses, and I didn't want to deal with speed boosters. I just wanted to be able to throw a battery in, a lens on it, and then be able to shoot. The Pocket 6K Pro is a little bit better in that regards because of the tilting screen and the internal ND. But I totally
the Pocket
agree. 4K, it's just so low cost that you can buy all the accessories you need and still have room.
And you can even do it pretty cheap too. Like if you want to get into cinema cameras and you want to actually learn how cinema cameras work and kind of get in that ecosystem, but you don't have a ton of money, you can, I mean, there's really cheap setups for the Pocket 4K. I actually did a video on it. If anyone wants to go check that out, that shows how you can like honestly get one for like lenses, batteries, everything you need for it for $1,700 and under. And then kind of just build from there. But it's such a great camera. Almanax comes in with some of the wish lists on YouTube for the new camera results in $15,000 to $20,000 product. Are we setting ourselves up for disappointment with unrealistic expectations? Potentially. I mean, I feel like some of the stuff that Blackmagic, like who I mean, like, okay, think about like 2 or 3 years ago and say like, I want a 12K camera that's an Ursa camera, that only costs $6,000. Would that be an unrealistic expectation? Like, I honestly don't know why they're selling it at $6,000, because I mean, I was totally willing to pay that like $10,000 price for that 12K camera if I needed it, because it just makes sense for it. So it feels like they're just trying to.
When they did the 10,000 for that 12K, I was like, I'm not going to spend that money until I up my lens game.
Yep.
Because you really want to spend that kind of money, you need to up your game. If you're buying a 40,000 Alexa Mini, and you can still buy them used for 40 grand, so you're talking 60 grand for the LFs, and you're talking about like, you know, really high cost, you're going to want to buy like the good ingenue lenses, the Cooks, the Zeisses. You want to buy the good lenses to put onto that, you know, and especially because at that point, okay, I can spend this money for the Alexa Mini. The rental price for it is like $1,000 a day, so I can rent it out for $1,000 a day. You want to have the good glass with it that you're able to rent with it, but most of the time, also, guess what most Hollywood productions do? They rent their gear.
Yep, true. Very true. And at least with that the 12K now, with it dropping that 4,000, 4,500, I remember exactly what it was in price, it gives you a pretty good chunk of money to go get a decent lens back. It's crazy to me how cheap they make everything. Let's see here. Here's a fun one. And guys, everyone watching, feel free to comment. We're going to get to your comments and question and answer. So ask away. Jaspreet comes back in with one thing Blackmagic should do is standardize Z-mount on a future camera lineup. A 60mm flange distance so you can adapt any lens from Sony, Canon, or vintage DSLR lenses, and you can swap from one body to another. Huh.
Again, that's a Nikon mount? Or
I'm assuming so, yeah. Jaspreet is a big Nikon fan. So
again, this is the only thing I have to say about mounts that people keep forgetting on both Facebook and on the forums. A lot of these mounts are proprietary to the companies. Sony with their E-mount, it's their proprietary mount. You don't see it on any other cameras.
Canon with RF. Canon's the only one, right? Because it's the only one that's like shared between another company with Red.
And it's an exchange for them to have internal raw recording that's compressed on their cameras.
Now, there has been those little rumblings about like the little relationship between Nikon and Blackmagic. Could we see something with that in the future? Them teaming up or like sharing some stuff?
It's a possibility. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past anyone. I mean, you've got mergers going. If you asked me 20 years ago, if I thought two of the biggest studios would be one studio, I'm talking about Disney and Fox right now, I would have been like, no. And I was 14 years old 20 years ago. So like, it's like when I say like you ask, and I was studying box office numbers then because, you know, we're at the point of Lord of the Rings being in the theaters and then Star Wars Episode 2 about to come out and Spider-Man. That was a crazy time looking at the box office numbers. But, you know, telling me that those two companies would be merged together as one would never have imagined it. So in terms of these partnerships, they are very interesting. So Nikon could work with Blackmagic, just as Canon is working with Red. I mean, and again, that's an exchange. You don't see the Canon RF mount on anything else. And people have to remember the patent for EF was gone by the time that pretty much Blackmagic was able to do their original cinema camera, which is a decade ago. So the patent got loosened. It's been reverse engineered. Now, here's the thing, though, that's interesting. Canon hasn't abandoned EF completely because their new cinema lenses they just announced, which are $22,000 per lens, EF and PL, swappable. But I think Matt Duclos of Duclos Lenses said he's not even sure yet whether you have to send them into Canon to be swapped.
That's interesting. Yeah, the whole mounting thing's interesting. And that's why even like in the last video I did, I speculated a little bit about maybe Blackmagic should consider buying their own lens company or something like that, like a lot of these companies do. It feels like that may be a move. Like maybe not now, but I think in the future, if they bought a lens company, it kind of fits with how like Ari, Canon, like all these other companies. Now I know we talked about Red before, and they kind of screwed up their lens situation. But
I've used those. The red lenses weren't terrible. They were fine. They just weren't great. It was just better buying other lenses. Even Sony, though, Sony has their own lenses, but for cinema lenses, they had the Sony Cine Ultras. They haven't really done anything with them at all.
No.
It's, and ironically, I don't have it with me. They bought Minolta long ago. Sony did. So everyone says that the glass is Minolta glass. And I love I just repaired my Minolta SRT 102 so I can take film photos again, like, get autistic and do that. But, so Sony bought Minolta. It's probably their glass. The closest we get to a Minolta cinema lens, that means in terms of glass, is those Sony Cine Ultras. You can buy them fairly well priced nowadays. I think you can get them used for $6,500 when they were $25,000 about a decade ago. They then dropped about like $12,500 6-something years ago, maybe.
So they're kind of coming down in price. Yeah, I think there's a ton of lens options nowadays too that just make a lot of sense. And I think you kind of feel like Blackmagic's kind of staying within kind of like that range of like where everyone can get the most out of the lenses they already own and stuff without having to convert to like a specific thing, which makes sense for now. Jay Irwin,
lenses take a lot to develop too. You have to remember that there is the famous aspect where it like supposedly takes a Cook lens half a year to a year to be made or something like that. Like, there's a video that Cook has that they go over their process and it's like, holy shit, they spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah. Jay Irwin says, dude, Sigma plus BMD, their lens lineup is such a perfect fit. Imagine the FP with in-camera B-RAW. Killer. Yeah. Sigma, I don't know if they could purchase Sigma, but that would be pretty interesting. Because Sigma's got some interesting sensor tech too that they've been working on with their little those weird cameras that they have. Was it the Foveon sensor? Yeah.
I don't know anyone who has the Sony Sigma FP.
I have almost bought it a couple of times because I thought it's so interesting how it kind of works, but I've heard it's not the easiest camera to to deal with. But because the ISO is just like, you have to have such good lighting conditions, but when you actually take it, the photos have really good color reproduction or something based on how they like process it. I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me see.
Wait, what do I see this 8K at 300 frames per second in the comments?
Let me see. Oh, okay. So that is someone, they're having a little argument back and forth. Here, Almanac said, but if they're talking about, it being too expensive or how much it would be based on how much everyone wants in it. Almanac says that if they were at full frame, global shutter, 8K at 300 frames per second, 16 plus stops of dynamic range, interchangeable lens mount, autofocus, Wi-Fi, wireless video, and all other insane specs, it would be, I would say that'd probably be like a $10,000 camera, right?
No, that's going to be a lot more money than that.
You think like 20?
Yeah, absolutely. People have to remember that, even the most expensive Arri Reds are, let's see. So what's the Raptor currently doing? 120 at 8K. And that's a full frame sensor. And that's not global shutter, but they claim 16 stops.
And with global shutter, I know everyone really wants global shutter, but there are certain issues that come with having global shutter as well, correct? Like, I'm trying to remember what it was.
Blackmagic definitely experienced it with the production 4K and the original Ursa 4Ks. So you trade off a slower ISO option. You basically went from 800 to 400, so you lost a stop with regards to that you then have, so not as good low light, essentially. Now, Red has slightly solved that with the Komodo. The Komodo is doing better in low light than Blackmagic's production camera ever did. But yeah, I mean, you do have trade-offs, and let's see, 80 frames per second with the Ursa was the maximum you could get full sensor
with global shutter.
With global shutter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
In the day, and that was Cinema D and G. So,
yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see if they could switch it, because I know there's some companies that are playing around with switching between global shutter and rolling shutter. I know Nikon's has some patents around that. That would be kind of interesting if you needed like those specific shots with global shutter, and then you could switch back to a rolling shutter. Because like honestly, the Ursa G2 has rolling shutter, but it's so smooth. It's so low that the latency is so low. You can't even tell. It feels like global shutter.
It's the read speed of the sensor, readout speeds. So for the G2, you're talking about 7.59 milliseconds. This is coming from Captain Hook, and he has a pinned thread. You can't comment on it, but it's just Blackmagic camera readout speed. So the Ursa Mini Pro 12K at 12K is 15.55 milliseconds,
which is crazy.
Yeah, but then you go to 8K mode, and it decreases to 7.78 milliseconds. Actually, decrease or increases. Sorry, it becomes a faster read speed for sure.
So I mean,
because lower is better in these instances. The Pocket 6K is 19.73 milliseconds. The Pocket 4K is 16.22 milliseconds. And legacy product-wise, let's go back to that original cinema camera, which is 23.62 milliseconds.
Yeah, which I know the 6K Pro, I notice way more of the rolling shutter on that camera than I do the Pocket 4Ks. But yeah, like if so for those of you that are wondering, like rolling shutter kind of gives you like the jello effect with your cameras when you pan or tilt too fast, just because of how it scans the sensor. But with a faster one, I think you get better results, like with the Ursa G2. So I think
it's
global
more
shutters
diminished for sure.
I think
but
global
at the same
shutters.
Time, people forget that film cameras could exhibit what was essentially like a rolling shutter.
Yeah,
because you had an actual mechanical shutter in there.
True. That's what I think is interesting too, is like when everyone wants global shutter, there's some trade-offs with it and stuff that maybe we're not aware of. Maybe that's something it'd probably be a good idea to do like a quick video on rolling shutter versus global shutter and talk about that. Let's see here. Sean Lewis says that BMD can't buy Sigma without Japanese government approval. That's interesting. Did not know that. Which Jay Irwin replied that Japan is right next door to Australia, so maybe some good neighbor vibes.
I mean, Australia is next door to a lot of different countries.
Yes.
It's on an island, essentially, and then you basically just have to traverse over into any of the Asian countries.
Digital 4 Dynamic asks, didn't the Ursa Mini have the option to switch between global and rolling?
They never got that to work. So that's about 7 years ago. They introduced that at NAB for the 4.6K. It was a promised feature. That's part of the reason there was a huge delay with that original 4.6K.
Right, because it was like a year delay until they could release it.
There was a couple different things. And ironically, John Brawley just brought up the whole sensor shading aspect, or specifically the magenta corners, and talking about how, so on each of these, sensors, there are little lenses for, directing light essentially and all that. And so like, it was something from those combined with what the sensors were being wrapped in and all this other stuff. So that, there are so many factors that can play into issues with sensors, issues with, electronics. Right now we've got a semiconductor shortage, which, by the way, guys, you want autofocus in your lenses, guess what? Semiconductors have to exist in those lenses.
Yep.
There's an aspect of where we've got so many factors that they couldn't get it to work. That was about 7 years ago. They tried to say we were going to do it, but then it never happened. Is it possible with 7 years of R&D that they could still have that maybe they could do it?
Yeah, it feels like something that a lot of people are trying to get to and they haven't gotten, which Despret mentions the Z9 sensor readout speed is very fast. And that's the one thing about the Nikon Z9 that fascinates me is their new like sensor kind of tech and how their readout works with that could kind of like provide a different maybe alternative to global shutter, maybe kind of how they're doing it. It'd be interesting to see like furthermore how it works with stuff because you really don't see a lot of like really good Nikon Z9 videos being released yet, mostly because I mean, there's some people that have the Z9, but not a ton of people yet. But that'll be interesting, kind of see some of these other questions here. Oh no, someone's your ND filter got stuck on the 6K Pro this morning. Mine is also stuck. It can flip to the first one, but that also happened because the airline dropped it on a tarmac, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So yeah, it's
That's one of the things I do prefer with the Ursas, specifically the Pros, is that dial kind of that you turn to move your ND into place.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put something simple. I remember now 6 years ago, I got into an argument with someone about internal ND, and I was like, "Listen, I come from film. I shot Super 16 in college. We had to put ND into a map box you had no internal ND. I got used to this, blah blah blah, like kind of stuff. Like internal ND brings a whole other spectrum of possible issues, and this is exactly one you have,
especially electronic, which I would almost rather them have done the exact same thing that they did on the Ursa cameras because it feels a little bit more stable.
It feels a little bit more stable, but I still remember 2009, I was shooting a feature film, which actually now that's 13 years ago to this date, roughly. So, first off, this was also a shoot where one of the camera guys, we were shooting HDV tape on these cameras. Someone, had the camera on and somehow accidentally rolled while we were walking for half an hour to a location, somehow rolled half a tape. But then there's this other thing with the internal ND that was on the JVC GY-HD 110U, where it was that kind of a dial type of thing. Or no, it was like a little slider. You slid it. And so like there was a diagonal at one point, and the camera guy didn't know what I knew what it was. And then finally when he had the balls to ask me, I was like, oh, this is what this is. Because the ND was stuck in between.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like bad design.
I'm a very easygoing guy. I don't get angry on set. I know people who do. If you have a camera person and they might not fully have all the experiences you might have with a camera, like you have to play around with these cameras to know every quirk.
Yep.
And when it comes down to certain things like that, you got to be able to be like, hey, can I just ask this and have them come over and help?
Totally
Maybe
agree.
It's something where like you have to problem solve it together, or like it's where the freaking frame rate option of higher frame rates in the Canon C300 is hidden, where I'm like, I hate this is the Mark II, where it's like, I hate that you have to dig through the menus just to get there to change that.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I think that's one thing that I think is a good lesson for everyone is like, I think humility and being humble about stuff will get you a lot farther in creative work because we don't all know everything. And it really does take a team to get things done the way they should be. Like you always need people around you that can help. So totally agree. AP Studios, yes, you're right. If you guys like this, if you're enjoying this stream, definitely click the like button. Help me get those algorithms up. As you guys have noticed, I'm now over 10,000 subscribers. So thank you all for making that a possibility. It's been a great past year of getting to hang out and do these videos and all this kind of stuff. So let's see if we can get to 25 or 50 this year. That'd be kind of fun.
Let's get you over the 100 club.
Oh, I would love that. Get me a YouTube play button. That would be great. That's the goal. Though supposedly according to projections, and like in 2 years I should be over 100. So, but let's see how we can get that. Let's see some of these other questions. The Jasper mentions that the problem with the Nikon community, it's more photography. Yep, I agree. There's not a lot of video people that they can reach out to, like, hey, film with the Nikon Z9 and do it. But I think it really does feel like Nikon's trying to go after the video market. So it'd be interesting. I definitely want to get my hands on one and test it at some point. But well, it'll be interesting to see.
I used a Nikon still camera when I was in college. I really liked it. I still kind of prefer some of the stuff I got with it compared to, I had a Canon 7D because it was a video suggested camera that people wanted back a decade plus ago. But Nikon was the first one to actually have the video recording feature in their still cameras before Canon. And it's kind of ironic that everyone remembers the Canon 5D and the 7D as being part of the DSLR revolution, but it was really Nikon who did it first, which is an interesting thing. But at the same time, then Canon actually had their video cameras, like the XL series.
That's true.
They had moved to an HD system. I actually used another HDV camcorder of Canon's back around that point in time as well. And then they had cinema lenses. I used a Canon 8 to 64 millimeter lens for, what was it, Super 16. So, yeah. I mean, Nikon has not been in cinema or video really for most of their existence. It's primarily been still
feels like they're trying to make that move over. It'll be interesting. I'm interested in any kind of new tech that's coming out and testing it, just to see where it's at. So that'll be interesting to see with the Z9 and kind of what they come out with here soon. I'm definitely planning on getting it and testing it against the Blackmagic cameras and some others, but it's kind of hard to get right now. Media Zone asks if we've tried the DJI Lidar autofocus adapter. I have not yet. I'm planning on trying to get the Ronin 4D at some point. Again, it's really hard to get your hands on new cameras nowadays with these shortages. But I definitely want to try out LiDAR systems. I really think LiDAR autofocus is the future of autofocus. It has a lot less issues that, traditional autofocus technology does, because you have to mess with the sensors and the sensor structure to be able to do it. This has nothing to do with the sensor structure. You can have your own, you can use it on any lens, any f-stop, any t-stop, whatever, and you can use it for autofocus. I don't know what you think about it. I think maybe I'm a little more excited than I should be about it, but I think the potential for it is interesting.
It's a toying fancy for me still, due to I don't like trusting automated tasks of computer stuff a lot of the times, but the aspect with this DJI LiDAR autofocus system is interesting. I know someone out of Miami area who did show him with like a Ronin 2 with a pocket. I want to say a pocket on the 6K or 6K Pro, whichever one. And he was using it, and he took photos and posted it to Instagram or Facebook. Andrew Colton, I think, is who it was.
Yeah.
So he's someone I could definitely say would be worth reaching out to inquire, because he's probably at this point at least played and tested with what he did.
Yeah.
I don't know many other people who have done
LiDAR
stuff with it, though.
Well, I think it's so new, though, right? Like, I think even DJI, I think they're really the ones that have really used it. And I think it's in the iPhone 12 now, if I'm not mistaken.
The iPhone 12 or the 13?
Or maybe it's the 13. I thought I read somewhere that they actually have LiDAR technology in the iPhone, the new iPhones now. Because it is one of those things where they're talking about how with the LiDAR, it's not just like one thing. You can actually have multiple different points that you could be focusing on, and like integrating it with AI deep learning technology to control it. I think eventually you're going to be able to emulate some stuff with it.
So, like, I'm not sure what it might be in here, but like, because this
maybe
is
the small, the small little dot.
Maybe the small one over here.
Yeah,
so I think this is the flash up here.
I don't know. I think I read that. I could be wrong, but either way, I'm really interested to try out the Ronin 4D and kind of see how that system works with it, and kind of like test it out and see like what the viability of it is. Because you're right, it's very new, but I think it has the most potential if it can work because there's no focus hunting and it works in low light situations because it's not reliant on what the sensor's seeing, and some other interesting things like that.
I will say this: what I love about it is it could democratize like the rangefinder type of aspect, so that you could get focus distance markings for like your subject to be seen, so that way when you are pulling focus as an AC, you actually have the specific numbers there in front of you. Yep. And then also I like the idea of it can help you. Like one of the things for Film Riot, I think, was the one who did their review of the new DJI 4D camera, where they talked about like how you can feel it kind of being an assistant when you're actually pulling focus manually, like as an AC. So it has a guiding, helping hand, but then you still have your control.
Which I mean, to me feels like that perfect mix of how a professional could use an autofocus system as like an assist, or if you're by yourself, it can be as an assist, or it can be your full autofocus that you might be able to, like, say these low budget movies where they don't really have someone that like indie films or something where you don't have the budget maybe for a dedicated focus puller. Being able to maybe emulate a focus puller based on other movies or other data, because every time you're adjusting that like electronically, you could be learning how some of those work over and over and over again. So an AI system could actually like replicate, much like a film emulator, how it kind of looks and feels if a person was doing it. Maybe not perfectly, but I think that is in the future. And I think I just think the tech's fascinating for it. And I'm not trying to like, I don't know. I think some people get a little upset about it. They're like, oh, what's the focus puller going to do? I'm like, I'm not saying that they should be replaced, but it is tech that's coming out. And I think we don't necessarily have to use it yet for what we're doing if you don't want to, but I think you should generally be aware of it and kind of balanced approach for like, don't use it too soon, but also don't just completely ignore it. No, it's never going to happen, because I think if you do that with technology, you're going to get left behind at some point with other people who actually know how to use it. And I feel like
Moore's law, though. Technology moves at such a rapid rate, and Apple's latest silicon basically proved Moore's law again. But look at 20 years ago, George Lucas doing digital on the Star Wars prequels, and Robert Rodriguez was playing with it. Not many others were, and yet now 90% of movies and television is shot digitally. Like you have maybe 10% still doing film. And I'm not giving an exact percentage number. I'm just off that.
But yeah, I mean, it's like it's why be very open to stuff. Like you don't have to use it. You don't have to like implement it right away. But I think it's generally good to be aware and kind of what's going on in the industry. What are some new things coming up? Because you never know what could be that one thing that could help propel you to something new, because everything's changing constantly. So let's see. Let's get to some more of these questions here. That was a great question about the LiDAR. That's why professionals use modularity. It's easier to fix and doesn't brick the entire camera setup. Absolutely. He's talking about the 6K Pro ND filters. I kind of agree with that. Roses are red, violets are blue. My ND filter is stuck because I used too much glue. That was a good one, Josiah.
I don't know. The internal ND of the Pocket 6K is nice to have.
When it works, yes.
The one thing I hate about it is the IR pollution protection isn't consistent.
Yeah, they have a problem with the IR pollution.
Abundantly clear. Like I put it against the G2, and the G2 is so much better. And I think from Matteo, if anyone who knows Matteo, I'm not going to try to do his last name right now, but I want to say Bertololi, but I don't think I'm saying his last name right off the top of my head. Or even, but either way, I've met him. I know him. I've worked with him on a shoot before. He's the guy who does the buttery LUTs, and he just moved to Portugal. So he was here in St. Pete, Tampa area, but he just moved to Portugal. He says the 12K has different internal ND than the G2, and it's definitely better with especially IR even still.
Yeah.
So they've probably made small improvements each time without like us knowing, but in terms of that mechanical versus electronic, it's kind of a question of which one works better, but I've put the G2 through a lot of things in the last 3 years, and I've never had any issues. I've had this Pocket 6K Pro for about a year, and it's still functioning fine, luckily. So
I think it's a little bit more like if you drop it, it might get off track a little bit easier, which happened in my case.
Knock
Yeah,
on wood.
knock on wood. 10,000 subs. Yes, thank you. And I will see him at NAB. He's going to be at our little Frame Voyager meetup. If you guys actually want to, like, if you are going to NAB this year in Las Vegas, we're having on the Monday night. I think it's April 25th. At 8 p.m., we're meeting at a restaurant, just hanging out, grabbing some drinks, and talking camera gear. And if you want to come hang out with me, but I'll be at the NAB show on the show floor, bringing coverage of a bunch of different things. I've actually got an interview with Blackmagic on the Tuesday. It's probably gonna be a little bit fun. If they haven't released a box camera, I'm definitely gonna give them a little bit of hell for that. But it's gonna be fun. So definitely keep and look out for that. Let's see here. Do you think
might
that
have to have a little bit of fun with Grant with regards to that box too? Like, why can't you think inside the box?
Yes, that's great. I have some fun little interview questions. We're going to be talking technical stuff, but it's going to be a very fun interview. I'm not sure if I get to talk to Grant Petty. I'm assuming probably not. Probably some engineer, which is totally fine. I'm cool to talk
If
with
you talk
anyone.
to Hook or Tim Schumann,
I'll
those
give
two from the camera development team, they are definitely great minds to chat with. For sure.
I will let them know I know Tim Buttner. So
they're gonna be like, "Oh God, you mean Tim has all these crazy ideas? He pitched us like all this crazy stuff on the forums."
Almanax asks if I think Blackmagic is interested in taking on lens design. It's literally the step from glass, camera, codec, edit, color, grade, delivery chain, and they don't control that for their cameras. Maybe I could see that as a step in the evolution of the company. I'm not sure it's going to happen yet. I would love to see it. I think they could make some good. I think they have to acquire someone because making lenses is a completely different process. It's a different. I mean, it's so different because it's not. I mean, some of it's electronic based, but it's a lot more.
Physics is essentially where it comes down to because it's the physics of light and lenses are essentially glass elements, and so there's a reason why this high-end cinema lenses are expensive, partly because it takes so long for them to be made. You can only make so many. So it's definitely going to be something that will be interesting. Now, whether or not they're making cinema lenses, which I would say they're a cinema-based company more than anything, so it would probably have to be like a cinema lens.
What if they made broadcast lenses?
Yeah, that's true. They could. And with those Canon lenses that everyone focused on, there was also a Canon broadcast lens, which could be used with the Blackmagic broadcast with the B4 mount. So
I don't know if they need to get into it yet, but I definitely think if they want to eventually they're probably going to need to I agree, controlling some more of that.
I'd rather see them first do a fizz hand unit and motor system for their cameras and other cameras too, but what would be great is if they did something like Arri does with the WC-U4, which is also now been replaced quote unquote with the High 5. So Blackmagic could do their own thing, and the great thing is if the motors are able to just be plugged into a front port on the camera and be powered from that, and it communicates with the motor and so on and so forth. That would be an amazing thing. And then where you have your hand unit where it's communicating with the camera and everything, maybe then you're actually getting all the data you need to be able to see, this is the actual focus mark that I'm hitting, and then maybe having a LiDAR system which is saying and acting like a rangefinder, where then it's like, okay, the subject is, it's tracking them as they're moving, so I'm actually seeing their distance. I would see that first over lenses.
I agree. Unless they acquire a lens company and then they could just do that separately at the same time. I think that's the best shot to do it sooner rather than later would be. Roland's asked if you could pick only one for an A camera, the Ursa Mini 12K versus the G2. I'd pick the G2. I think that's easy. It depends on what you're using it for. The 12K is great, but I think the G2 is more proven in my mind. I
stuck with the G2 because of a couple different factors. One, I prefer the higher frame rate at full sensor. I also didn't need 12K or 8K. Then there's the aspect of ProRes. I really have too many clients that really still demand to have ProRes given to them. And considering I shot, after the 12K was introduced, music videos shot with an Arri Alexa that was shooting ProRes, and we used my G2 as a beat camera shooting ProRes.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's see what some other questions are here. Jess Breach says, what happened to the project you were talking about, making your own box camera using the Pocket 4K? I'm probably going to be looking into that now that nothing's been released. I know this one guy who makes he calls them the naked cameras, naked Pocket 4K, 6K cameras that he mounts on drones. Crazy how he does it, but he says it'd be a massive box based on the sensor design, but I might try and figure that out because that would be fascinating if I could get to that before Blackmagic could. So stay tuned. I'll see. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I think eventually Blackmagic will become similar to Arri with the products they have? It's a good question.
I will definitely address that a little bit with possibly, but not quite, because Arri is very diverse. They do have their lenses, and they've been doing their lenses for a century, essentially. And then they have their lighting tech. Let's face it, Blackmagic's not doing anything with regards to lighting. The closest you could come is talking to my fellow Vermonter, Tor, who works for Blackmagic Design. He loves Aperture. And he's like, hey, Aperture has the same mentality that Blackmagic does. Yeah, you're saying maybe. I don't think there's going to be a merger, which, by the way, tomorrow there is a new Aperture product announcing yet again.
Feels jeez. They're trying to get ready for NAB, which I'm going to be going by Aperture's booth at NAB, so that should be interesting.
But then again, lighting-wise, Blackmagic doesn't have lights. They do not do lenses, but they have DaVinci Resolve and post-production, whereas Arri doesn't. So
and it is interesting. I think maybe, but I think they're going to be more of a market disruptor. They're kind of bridging the gap between professionals and prosumers in the fact that I think they give opportunities, which is what Grant Petty said in his interview that he wants to do, giving opportunities to lower end indie filmmakers and some other people who just don't have access to this kind of stuff to get started and to make content with good quality equipment to get started. And I know lots of people use the original BMP-CC to make movies, and I talk with them, and you could not tell me watching that video that you could tell that that's that cheap of a camera that they're using. It's a lot of it's skill, a lot of it's all that, but it's getting good stuff like this into the hands of creatives who need it to kind of make a name for themselves without having to spend, Arri level kind of tech. So it'll be interesting.
I would definitely say, the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pros are 90% Arri without the Arri cost. So you're basically paying 10% of an Arri for 90% of the quality.
Yep. Josiah says that I should ask Gary, I think he means Grant Petty, at the NAB if he wants to legally become my grandfather.
Well, no, just business daddy or what's it from Great Expectations? Benefactor.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good one. That's funny. Let me see here. Jacob All Trade says that NAB, I should ask Blackmagic to do something interesting with the accelerometer or gyro metadata in the Blackmagic. That is on my list to ask them because that's, I talked about that in a video about how that would be an interesting thing with the internal gyro data that they're already getting. Can we harness that and put that into DaVinci Resolve? Maybe we'll find out some of that on Monday for the live stream.
Possibly.
Which, if you guys want to, we're going to be there talking about it, watching it, hanging out, joking, laughing. So be sure to tune in Monday. I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern that they're coming out. Here's a good question.
Yeah, I have to double check. I think it was 1 p.m. It says
Eastern, I think.
5 days, 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 57 seconds. So yeah, that's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, fun. Is it good to go with the 6K or the 6K Pro? I would go with. I would go with.
I
Go
have
ahead.
both. I have both. So
I think they're both fine. It just depends on. Would you just pay the extra money to get the extra filters though, or would you rather buy your own filters?
Here's the thing with I don't have any filters anymore except for some circular filters. I used to have 4x4 filters because going from my 16mm days, we were using 4x4. So I'm transitioning to 4x5.65. But the internal ND is really, really useful on the 6K Pro.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, like you can put whatever you need to filter wise in front of the lens here. All you have to do is get a matte box or screw on filter. The screw on filters are cheaper, yes. Definitely say for quality glass of the filter, you would definitely want 4x5.65. I mean, you could also do 4x4. It's cheaper, but the larger sensor you get, the wider the lens, the more that you're going to possibly see some of those corner edges. So it's kind of better to do 4x5.65, especially for anamorphic. If you're ever planning to shoot anamorphic, you definitely want a 4x5.65. So I think it comes down to also the external ND. You're going to maybe get a better IR pollution protection filter than what's internally available in the 6K Pro because it's not that great. I mean, it's not consistent. That's for sure.
No, I totally agree.
So if you're like doing a scene outside, say, and you're kind of having one subject standing in the sunlight and one subject standing in the shade, and you're doing over the shoulder kind of shooting, and you want to keep the same depth of field, you want to have them shot at the same aperture, but one you have to shoot with ND6 and the other you have to shoot with ND 1.2, and they're both wearing black shirts, you're going to see a little bit of
difference. Yeah.
IR pollution.
I totally agree.
One more. So,
yeah. Interesting decision. And Antoine Law says, how would I feel about DJI creating a cine camera without the gimbal like a Ronin 1D, like Caleb Pike of DSLR Shooter, which he actually supposedly found that a little prediction that you and I made about it. So that was kind of interesting to see him comment on the channel. Suggested since the 4D has so many desirable features, I would have to really test out the DJI cameras, but I wouldn't. The Ronin 4D is the only thing that interests me is because of the tech in it. I am not sold on DJI as a video camera thing anymore. I don't love their codecs already for their drones. Like it looks good for drones. Don't really trust it for video stuff yet. So I really want to play around with their footage and see it before I can make a good decision for that. But
I'm not too sure yet about DJI yet either. I haven't even gone to play with it. I don't even know anyone physically in my network who's actually played with it.
I will be trying to play with it as soon as I think it's just because it's not available yet. So I am trying to get it. I'm working on a deal with this lens rental company to kind of you're like, hey, I'll talk about your rental stuff if you just send me some gear to test out. So I'm going to be getting some stuff this summer, hopefully to test out. Almanacs. You just want Papa Grant to be your sugar daddy. Yeah, that's a good description of it.
I think everyone wants a sugar mama or sugar daddy. I mean, I've definitely tried to get a couple in my time. Like there was actually a website you could sign up for, and I was just like, my profile literally was like, I just am looking for a rich older woman to pay for my camera gear.
I mean, that would be great, right? Because it's so expensive for everything. Roland Breedis asks, what will Aperture release tomorrow? Predictions. I don't know.
I think
they've already done tube lights, right?
1,200 bicolor, maybe.
Yeah, because they've already done so much. Like they've released so much in the last 6 months. Like what? It's got to be pretty easy to how easy do you think it's to develop light tech? It's probably a little bit easier than cameras on some level.
It's been changing so much. I mean, it's LED tech, so they're
Yep.
going. It could be an RGB cob, for all we
Mm-hmm.
know. So like, it's I don't know. There's the 720 and 720 bicolor from Nanlite, the Forzas, just got released. So maybe they're like, oh well, we at least had this new 1200 bicolor in development. Let's get it out there so that then we can say we have the most powerful bicolor, available to take away that title after like a week or two from Nanlite. But then
Right.
Godox is doing also some RGB cob type of light, so they could be going after that too.
Be interesting. It'd be very interesting. So yeah, we'll have to tune in tomorrow to see what's going on. That will probably be in our we'll see if it'll make it into our news video for Friday, because I know we usually like record tomorrow. So if not, well, I'll be talking to them I'll be talking to Aperture at NAB too. So let's see here. Here's a good question. Matteo Bertoli
That's
preferred
the buttery Let's guy I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was picking it. Preferred 6K over 6K Pro because he liked the external ND filter look he owns. Totally makes sense. Yeah.
I'm in agreement with him. I have the Pro primarily just for the ease and like some of these corporate shoots that I do.
It's just easy to just like boom, do it. And yeah, like if you're filming something that like needs to be perfect picture wise, totally get the 6K, use your own filters. But the 6K Pro, your run and gun, like documentary work or stuff like that, it totally makes sense to get the 6K Pro for that.
Yeah. And Matteo is a really great guy. Ironically, on his channel, he once was talking and he mentioned using the Canons. And I'm like, I know what shoot you're talking about. It's the shoot we worked on for a mutual connection of ours that I won't name quite just because I don't want to bring up the drama of Canon like stuff. But like Canon wise, we were using, and then Matteo and I were like, hey, digging through menu stuff, and it was just like Matteo again. So like, I just don't like these Canon menus and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I'm with you, buddy. But yeah, he was mentioning how he was on the shoot with Canon, and like he didn't like the menus and blah blah blah. I'm just like, I know what he's talking about, and like because I know this other mutual connection, he uses a lot of Canon products, and there's nothing wrong with Canon. It's just that the menus are built by engineers, and it's
and I just can they just not hire, like, did they not have enough money to hire someone to redesign it? Like, we live in such a digital world that has like UI systems that you could just go like hire someone to do it. Like, I mean, because it's like I can't imagine that Blackmagic's UI was like that technically challenging to do. But it's just so clean and simple. Like you almost need more of a designer to work with the engineering team to make sure it's all like that.
That's all Captain Hook for Blackmagic, though.
Yeah.
Captain Hook is the one who did it. He was a camera guy. He was a cinematographer. He came in and he worked with them to develop what is firmware 4.0 onwards, that whole user interface that we love and that new menu system. Because if you go back to the original menu system on this, it was simple though. This was, no matter what, very simple, like an Alexa. Like I remember in 2013 working with an Alexa and then going and grabbing this guy and being like, it's so simple. It's not overly complicated. And even Red at that time wasn't that bad. Like, the original Red was a pain in the butt. Because they greatly improved with the Epic. So we're starting about the time of 2011 with the Epic. So yeah.
All right. Sean Lewis asks if what was the Sugar Mama site that called again? Asking for a friend.
I think it was like, what's your price?
What's your
So like you could find sugar mamas and sugar daddies on that site, and I'll try anything once for sure. The ironic thing is they never even approved my profile for looking for a sugar mama they approved my sugar daddy thing, and then it was like, hey, I'm not a sugar daddy, people.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
did I go
That's
on a
funny.
date with someone there? Yes. And like, did it instantly become, well, I'm just looking for a sugar daddy? I'm just like, I'm not a sugar daddy.
Okay. Well, there you go, Sean Lewis. That's probably more. Okay. Oh my gosh. F Peltzer asks, what do you think of the new red V Raptor XL? It's a red.
Listen, I do like red fine enough. I'm never going to buy into one of their cameras. I'll rent them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just red and their proprietary BS has annoyed me over the years. Like, you had a period where like you had to buy the red, you had to buy their battery, their red brick, you originally had their red lenses also that you were supposed to buy, and like you had all these, but it was red proprietary media that drove me up a wall. And I remember, what was it, 2015, having to use red and dead because, their proprietary media, the media was still on the card. It just couldn't be read by a freaking, because the SSD was having an issue or whatever. So like once we got the files off, we could format the card and the card was able to be used, the red mag. But like they give you all this BS about their proprietary media only for it to be like, but it's just a common SSD, or with now the CFast 2.0 codes and the CF Express codes. The CF Express codes for the Red Raptors are made by Angel Bird. And you can find an Angel Bird 2 terabyte for like $900.
Yeah, I remember Linus
Red
Tech
Mag
Tips taking them
for
apart.
660. Yeah, it's like $950.
Yeah. Like red's fine. Red, I mean, it's not my personal favorite. Like if you like it and you want to use it, good. If you have all the money to pay, yeah, for what I do, I don't need the red.
If you're going to be spending that money, you may as well just go with Airy.
Just Breet wonders if we can bring Matteo Bertoli on the stream in the future. I don't know.
You should definitely try and do it. You know, he's a Black Magic fan. So.
Hey, that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, we will look into that. Maybe I'll bump into him at NA.
And guys, if you haven't used his buttery LUTs, I mean, I'm not someone who uses LUTs regularly in my grading, but his LUTs are amazing. They're absolutely a great starting point, and he is doing an amazing job with the development of those LUTs because you can use them also for other cameras.
Yep. F. Peltzer comes back with, do you use DaVinci Resolve, and are you excited for the cloud update in 5 days? This is going to be, this always shocks some people on this channel whenever I tell them I'm a big Adobe Premiere user, and I don't really use DaVinci Resolve very often.
But I'm a Resolve user,
yeah.
And I got to say I'm excited, but I'm nervous about this whole cloud aspect.
It could be pretty cool though, and I still love all the DaVinci Resolve. I think DaVinci Resolve is great. Like, it's great. I need to get more into it myself. I just have a better workflow with Adobe Premiere that I've set up over the years. But for that live stream on Monday, we're gonna be hanging out. Tim, you're gonna be there too, I think, right?
Yeah, I should be there. I'll set up like a pocket to stream,
to stream on.
So that way it's not my red.
Awesome.
I literally stayed up for Moon Night last night, and then I ended up falling asleep in the middle of it, of course.
I was wondering why I didn't wake up to a message from you about the Black Magic streaming things. That makes sense.
It's because when I woke up, it was literally like almost an hour late, and I'm like, oh crap, hell! Because I don't know. I hate Disney Plus for when they launch these videos now, because it's just the worst. Obi-Wan, I'm probably going to say, I'm going to take a month off for the whole Obi-Wan series, just so that, or like when it comes to like the day of, I don't want work that day, so I can just stay up. Watch it.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. Looks awesome. I can't wait to watch that.
But in terms of the live stream, there's going to be some definitely interesting stuff we're going to find out, because I think we're going to see a huge update to Resolve for sure, because there's been teases from other people who have been like alpha testers for sure, kind of saying, "Wait, I can't speak much, but guys, wait till you see it." Now I can't say that, but I haven't tested it. I don't know what they're releasing, but
it's going to be awesome. So we're going to be doing that with a couple other DaVinci Resolve users. Tim's going to be on, my friend, I believe, Patrick Sterling, who does a ton in DaVinci Resolve for like Twitch users and some other stuff. He has an awesome channel fully on DaVinci Resolve. He's going to be joining us. And I think another camera channel might also be joining us too. So we'll have to see. So we'll have a good panel of a lot of different people from different industries. And that's going to be fun. Last time we did the GH6 one, it was really fun because we made fun of GH6 a lot. So who knows? This one's gonna be fun because we're all big Black Magic nerds. So it's gonna be a fun live stream. And we'll probably be going live probably about 30 minutes beforehand just to introduce everyone and kind of get ready and excited for it. So
if you want my prediction, is the cloud name kind of makes me think people have been asking for them to fix up their collaboration features to work more over the internet, because it's been very much like internal network kind of based for a long time. So like, okay, I'm in my office, you're in your office, we're all attached to a network, and you can work off of a server for where all the footage is stored. Well, what is the possibility, since Frame.io was acquired by Adobe, could it be that they're basically going with another solution inside of Resolve where, okay, you set up a hosting Resolve server that is connected to the internet for people to access, but then you all are able to collaborate like across the country and the globe to be able to do projects with. So you have your editor working, say, in New York, you have your colorist in LA, you've got your sound mixer in, I don't know, where should I put him? Hawaii. Let's put the sound guy in Hawaii.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to kind of see how. I'm really excited to see. Anytime Blackmagic kind of increases some of their stuff, it's always cool. And it'll be a cool thing to talk about at NAB with them. Hopefully, I'll get some good questions out of it. And looking forward to hanging out with you guys Monday for that. F. Peltzer says, welcome to Hamburg, or greetings from Hamburg, Germany. Great to see you. Love it. Love having all the different people from all around the world. It's such a fun community we have here, Frame Voyager. Almanacs, and I'm going to talk about something here in a few minutes about a nice little surprise I have coming up at 11:30 a.m. for you guys right after this live stream. But Almanac says, oddly to me, having B-RAW is becoming a must-have feature when choosing cameras. Most other features are too similar across brands to decide which is best. It is hard because I do love B-RAW, and it's such a big part of my workflow at this point that it's really weird anytime I have to work with like other footage. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to like actually like I can't like mess with it too much.
You have to nail your actual color temperature.
Yeah, and your white, your exposure and all that stuff, and oh my gosh, having that flexibility makes it so easy. Even if you're just like slightly off, you could just tweak it. But yeah.
I'll say this much with regards to B-RAW that I really have the desire to see them do presets inside of the camera, like, or you can actually go in and dial in some of the B-RAW settings, like like you can like you can with going in and choosing in record. Actually, let me go back to B-RAW here, where you can choose extended video and you're recording extended video. I want them to be able to allow you to actually kind of like have a customized setting like that, where you have your custom saturation, custom contrast, custom highlight, roll off, and all that stuff. I would love them to allow you to do a bit of a customization for in-camera recording, but then you still have the capability, because it's still raw, to actually change that in post. I would love that, because then you could do that combined with a lot to then have it that you really create an image.
Yep. Absolutely. And here's another quick question we can get to as I'm going to talk about something here in just a second. If you had a job where your goal is to get the highest quality video for companies' Instagram, which Blackmagic camera would you use? I would probably go with the 6K camera because you get that extra resolution, which means you don't necessarily have to film like this. But I think it would be, you could do it with the Pocket 4K if you had a lower budget, but I get the 6K Pro. I think you have a little bit more versatility with your resolution at that point. So at least that's what I would do.
For a vertical frame inside of the horizontal frame that you have, the 4.6K at 2,592 is plenty of vertical for you to crop those sides to get a good vertical frame. So definitely the 6K, definitely even more at 35 something another.
I agree. I think we're pretty similar on that. Wayne H says, as someone who's from Vegas, awesome. Any plans besides New York Casino that we're going to be meeting at? The Red Rock Canyon and Mount Charleston, around 30 minutes away. I've actually been to Las Vegas a bunch, and I've gone to different places like there. I've been to Zion National Park and down the Narrows there. I've been to like all the different places you can around Vegas. So this is strictly for NAB. So I'm going to be coming in on a Saturday. I'm going to be leaving on Tuesday night, flying back to the East Coast. So not too much, but that's kind of our plan. Like a couple hours hanging out at this place in the New York casino. I just wanted to have a quick, I'm sure we can hang out. Like, well, I'll see people on the show floor and stuff, but just wanted to give us a cool place to kind of like hang out a little bit, kind of do a quick meet and greet, and go from there. Maybe we'll actually do some stuff more next time around if more people end up going. But thank you, and Media Zone, great stream. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're actually going to cut the stream here at 11:30 a.m. Have a special surprise coming out for you guys. A Wednesday video release. It's about this new, well, it's not new. It's about a new company Adobe just bought a little bit back, and the fact that it's now free software if you have a Creative Cloud subscription. I'm speaking, of course, of Frame.io, which I don't know if you guys have used it yet, but this video is going to be talking about the thing that was just released yesterday, and it's freaking awesome if you have Creative Cloud or even just have single licenses for Adobe Premiere or After Effects. So I don't know how many of you are, Tim, I'm sure you've used Frame.io before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I've been using it for about 6+ years, I guess, now. Because
same.
A feature film I color graded back in 2016, I was uploading everything to Frame.io for the director to be able to make his comments and be able to give me the feedback needed to be able to do because he was in New York, I was in Vermont at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for this. Do you hear that lawnmower out there?
Yeah, someone's decided. Of course. No, you're good. I don't hear it too much. I think there's a little bit of noise cancellation on this. But good. Yeah, Frame.io is so cool because it's a great way for you to work with clients and video collaborators. Always, like, you can comment that gives you timestamps on videos. You can put it into Adobe Premiere, even DaVinci Resolve, and it'll show you where the different things are, and you can upload directly to it. It's great. It's a great alternative to Vimeo for kind of like video hosting to show your clients. Adobe Premiere, and you'll see this in the video, and I kind of go over everything in it. So be sure to watch it at 11:30, right when I end this stream. Go over, give it a like, comment on it if you guys don't mind. And it's great. You get 100 gigabytes free of memory. You can use 2 team members, and you get access to it. It's pretty incredible, some of the tech that they have, where you can even like film something from your camera and it directly with, I mean, obviously you have to buy some hardware for this, but you can directly stream your videos like an H.264 directly to it from your camera while you're on set filming. So if you have to get things done and you're in a fast production mode, it can send it to your editor like right after you're done filming. So it's a really cool, it's such a cool program.
So I did a Camera to Cloud episode with the Film Jams channel where someone from Frame.io actually reached out and was like, Tim, we love this. We had to share this internally like crazy. So they are great people. And one of the people who works for Frame.io actually was with DaVinci Resolve for a long time.
Totally makes sense. Their platform's so good. There's others like Iconics and stuff, but Frame to me is just, and especially now with it being bought out by Adobe, it's great.
That Adobe acquisition kind of made me a little upset because I was like, no, not because I love
Yeah,
using
I did.
Resolve,
But
but
now
it
that it's
is still supporting Resolve, so
yes.
that's good. It's going to be interesting though, because 100 gigs is a lot of space that they're giving you for free, because
Yep.
I mean, I might actually just pay for Adobe again just for that 100
And you just have
gigs.
to have the single subscription. I mean, if you just have, according to them, and you can see this in the video, you just have to have like Premiere or After Effects, and that's all you have to pay for, and it comes with that subscription. So I mean, that's really good. And someone's saying WeTransfer Portal is great too, but this is way beyond even what WeTransfer Portal does, because you can review it, you can send it as a presentation, you can lock the video so people can't download them, you can set timers on them, you can put passwords on it, you can even put like watermarks on it. There's so many options to do with this. It's so great if you're a freelancer or working corporate on any video production anyways. It's just such a great review process. You don't have to go through those emails you get from clients that is just like laundry lists of things. So
I have
that's
a picture somewhere of where someone actually wrote on a pad and pen with a pad and pen time code, and this change, time code, this change, like, or like it wasn't even time code. It was just like at this minute and second they wanted this change, and they took a photo with their phone to send me over the changes they wanted, and I was just like, who does this? And like, now granted, this is also someone I tried to get to use Frame.io, and they couldn't understand it, but
yep.
so you do have clients that will be able to handle it. Some of them, I guess, are too old to understand this stuff, but
pretty much
it's
It is live now, though. If you guys want to figure out and see how it used, I actually do a quick walkthrough with my projects and show you how it works and some of it, and explain how to get signed up for it and all that. Definitely watch it. It's a great watch. Thanks, Tim, for being here. This was great hanging out.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Sorry for the. I didn't know that they were today going to be doing their
question and answer. Yeah, it happened kind of at the last second, but we'll talk to you guys Monday. We'll be back with more question and answer videos, because I do want to do some more of these like monthly. I think it's a good thing to kind of get to talk with all of you. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys all for supporting the channel and getting us over 10,000 subscribers. So go watch that video now that just came out. Please like it, comment on it, help us out with the algorithms, and we'll see you guys later.